Welcome to the EST Hangout.
This is the EST Hangout, and today's guests are... Welcome to the EST Hangout right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Tom Gazzola, Jolene Latimer from theScore, Jay Milne, our glue guy. Hello, Jolene. Welcome back. Hello, Jay.
I am so happy to be here. I haven't been here in 2025.
What the heck?
It's my first time this
We
year.
had to fix that.
I know.
You brought in coffees from...
did. The Colombian.
Fantastic. This coffee is delicious.
I know, it's
Round of
so
clicks
good.
for
yeah.
Jolene.
Round of
coffee.
clicks. Oh, YouTube Trev's getting in now.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us about the Colombian, because we like to support local.
Yes, they have 3 locations in Edmonton. I'm kind of a regular. I usually work there. Sometimes I do interviews there.
That's a
Yeah.
great idea.
Yes.
Like a sleuth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you just got to get out of the house because I work remotely.
Right.
Sometimes it gets a little depressing, so I head over there. It's weird when they start to recognize you, and I'm like, okay, do these people know? Like, I do have a life. Like, I have other stuff outside of just getting coffee. But
That's not their problem.
I know. So
Right,
I do
Jay?
interviews. I have meet friends there. I run into people I know. I love running into people I know.
It's a good problem.
Isn't it
actually.
great when you're
Yes.
at a coffee shop? This is the best thing about local coffee shops. When you're there and just you feel like you recognize people who you might not even know, but they're like the kind of like auxiliary people in your life, like
Yeah.
just the extras.
Yep.
But they're there at the coffee shop.
And they're good extras.
Exactly. And you need those people. Like
Yeah.
during COVID, I really miss those people. I was like, where's the guy in the red hat? He was like, I miss that guy, right? And so it's just great to have a good local coffee shop. So,
And the name, the Colombian.
Yeah.
Colombian.
That's
well,
top
it makes
tier.
sense.
yeah, obviously.
That just says this place has
they
good
care about
coffee.
Mhm.
The artisan cups,
Oh, yeah.
the artisan to-go cups.
Beautiful
Exactly.
I'm
flowers.
going to feel bad
Fancy.
throwing that out after. I may not.
We're not throwing it out. We're recycling.
Yeah, goes to the same
Yes.
place. Tom.
Yeah. It does go to the same place.
Does it?
Sorry, brah.
Hey, bro, it's all good. Jay
It's the
Milne,
plastics I've heard that are the real
problem.
problem, Tom.
How are your auxiliary people, by the way? Because you're a man about town. He was a businessman. Thank you very much, Trev.
My auxiliary people are EST for the most part.
Oh, ouch.
You're the extras.
Just kidding.
Wow.
You're my main people.
Yeah.
Glue guy, my
You're my
ass.
favorite people.
Right?
Yeah.
No, I would say I have some auxiliary people at like the Sobeys that we go to
Mm-hmm.
because that's our go-to. My wife and I work out together on Tuesdays, so there's often people there that you see all the time.
Yep.
But you don't. Well, we talk to them, I guess, but they would be auxiliary. But they're necessary in life for sure.
Yeah.
Like I've really gotten to know one of the fellas, Greg.
Yep.
He does checkout at Sobeys. He's actually writing a book of which
Okay.
I'm going to read he's putting together a structure, kind of an outline,
Yeah.
and he wants a couple people. Reed and I are both going to read it
I am
and
not
give him
surprised that you
feedback.
That's
are going to read this guy that works
It's a little
at Sobeys
dark
book.
from what I understand.
Okay.
Yeah, it
Just-
deals with some sensitive subjects.
It'll make a great movie one day.
Does
but-
Reed also go to your Sobeys? Is that how you
No,
use it?
I
Oh.
wish, man, I wish I would just sit in the parking lot waiting for my little Reed to
Just-
stop in.
Just to run into him at Sobeys.
Yeah.
What a
We're-
treat.
you know what? It's cool. We're best friends. Yeah.
Okay.
Over this last year, I've realized how important it is to continue to make new friends and new like extra people, even if they're not very close. Like just to constantly be expanding your network.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you get to a point in life where you're like, okay, I already have friends. Like I don't need more friends.
Right.
But then this last year, I've been like, actually, I do need more friends all the time. You're a new friend.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Yeah, it's great to like add
Jay
more people.
Milne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a super new friend.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
day one.
Just
Day one
It's
friendship.
off to a great start.
Yeah, it is.
I must admit.
Yeah.
And that is interesting because with EST, with me coming on board here and getting to meet all the nasties and actually getting to know them is really neat. I don't know. Well, let me ask you this, Tommy. And I know, listen, we're on
It
top
is
of
deadline
everything.
day. We're at a lull. There's a stalemate between Ranin and the Stars. That's the update.
And the last I saw was Elliot Friedman saying Anthony Beauvillier to Washington.
We'll stay
is
on
what-
top of that.
So we're staying on top of everything.
Yes.
So you're not missing anything.
Yes.
When you guys were at TSN 1260,
Yep.
the old place as it's referred
Yep.
to commonly here, were you as relational with the listeners there?
Nope.
You know what I mean?
No, we weren't.
And because I know that was kind of an MO for you guys when you started this was that now the chains were off. And if we want to do a golf tournament, we can do a golf tournament.
Yes.
If we want to do a nasty bash, you know, I know there was like Gibchella and stuff before.
I never took part in Gibchella.
Neither did I. But I think the effort was there and the want was there, but it was just the governance of the media company that was Bell did not really allow for that. At least that's my understanding.
That's pretty fair. And I'm glad you brought that up because I never really thought about that. But like the golf tournament got kiboshed. After COVID, it was quietly fading away, even though it was a great event. That's where we met a lot of our listeners. And we didn't do as many on locations. I know we started to towards the end. I was at Ice House during the one season at the end of 1260. So we didn't really have that rapport with the listeners. Plus, if you want anything, you had to go to reception. And we were tucked upstairs in the one corner of the building. So no, we didn't have that rapport and relationship with the listeners and viewers. Whereas now it's pretty upfront. We started this. Jay came on board. We have guests and friends of our shows like Jolene. Like it's much more involved.
Yes.
And
inviting for involvement.
And I think that comes from Eric and Dusty.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
Maddie, myself.
Well, even
you,
the beer.
obviously.
Like Dusty said he'd always wanted to do a beer. But there was just so much constraints at the old place.
Yeah. I ran into Sarah from Alley Cat yesterday. She was going to the game. And just like if we had, say, done that beer while we were at 1260 with Alley Cat, I would have no idea who Sarah was because I would be so separated from everything. There would be a need to know basis, Tom, like, oh, we need you to go to this event or something like that. Your point of contact is so-and-so. So I might never have a chance to meet people from our partnerships.
Is that because they separate news and like the commercial, like the marketing side?
Yeah.
Is that
That's because they didn't get it.
Well, that's like
honest
traditional
truth.
journalism.
Yeah.
But
And-
also too.
And that's totally changed.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, and although there is a place for that, I'm not denying that, but there's an appetite for more from listeners, more interactive. I mean, looking at, you know, Fergie saying, "Good day, Jay." You know, hey, Rip City Step says Jay talks to everyone, I imagine. But I love that stuff.
You're a friendly guy.
And there's way more limericks on EST than there ever was on TSN 1260.
We got
So
haikus from Tube Socks last night.
I mean, that was a beautiful haiku.
Great haikus.
I was thinking, it's funny you mentioned this because I was thinking as I was getting ready, I was like, oh, I like EST because of this. I actually had some questions that I'm going to ask the listeners later today about once we get to it, a different topic. But you can ask things and you know people will respond and you'll actually get thoughtful answers because they're so engaged.
Yeah.
It's a great
that's
audience.
Fair.
Yeah. And you don't often get that.
No.
Yeah.
That's true. And then the other element too that kind of I think adds to it is YouTube. Because I mean, if you're only listening on the audio side, whether you're driving or you're just listening on a standard radio or your computer, or whatever, like we used to have, now with YouTube, you can watch, you can text in, you could kind of keep one ear on one thing, be working. It's just added that extra platform, different platform, adds more layers to what we do. So
totally. It's so cool.
Yeah.
It's a testament to the energy, like you were saying, and the vibe that you guys created where it's a lot about community, friends, bringing people in. I love it.
The rigidity of the traditional media and radio station is gone.
Right. And it doesn't work for sports, I think. Maybe it works for like hard news.
It's very cold.
Yeah.
Hard news, sure.
Yeah.
Like,
You
need
need
Well,
that
and
for hard news.
there's almost a sexiness to what they have to report on. It has to be the Oilers, or it has to be, you know, like that's something that we do very well here that nobody really does well is we cover, you know, Alexis Kubicki, who is, you know, a young female boxer in Edmonton that won her bout last weekend. We cover junior Wildcats, Huskies football. We cover Golden Bears, Pandas, Ooks, Griffins. Like that is stuff that we're welcome to because I get it. 90% of people want to hear about the Oilers.
And they will hear about it.
And they will. They're going to get their share. But it's almost like, okay, you get that, but we get this for the 10% of people that are like every time we have a guest on per se about CFL in particular, there's usually 5 to 10, no less than 5 to 10 texts that come in to the River Cree inbox on the Reed Wilkins Show that say that thank you so much for covering that. Thank you so much for that interview, because you won't find it anywhere else. You won't to that extent. But, I understand you got to play the hits too.
Well, I think though, like there is something to be said about hyper local coverage. And today with a lot of, and you see this across all news, but in specifically sports, a lot of the coverage is concentrated corporately. So they'll create like a show in Toronto and then they'll like pump that out across the country. So it is really hard to find someone who's talking about something happening in your city and not just the Oilers, because anyone in Toronto can analyze the Oilers and kind of tell you what's happening. But the only people who could tell you what's happening with local sports, like really local sports, are the people who are really here.
Yes.
So I think that that's something special about this place is that you guys lean into that and embrace it. Because people do want to know, like, of course you want to hear about the professional teams, but to also learn about stuff that's kind of maybe like bubbling up across the city sports scene, like that's interesting stuff to learn about, I think.
I agree.
Yeah.
And then you have like Jolene on a national platform digging up cool stories.
Trying to.
Yeah. But
every
you do.
now and then. Every
You
now
do.
and then.
We have some news to get to right away here. I do need to tell everybody that the EST Hangout is presented by Sentinel Storage, Canada's storage experts, more than 2 decades of helping Canadians through life's transitions. Canadian storage provider, sentinel.ca. Text us 780-218-9999. Get into the nasty chat as well. Jolene Latimer from theScore, Jay Milne from the Reed Wilkins Show, Tom Gazzola with you as we go through a trade deadline edition of the Hangout. Dylan Cousins going to the Ottawa Senators. Josh Norris and Jacob Bernard Docker going the other way. And then the Beauvillier one, you were talking about that. Did you see it? Do you want to update?
Yeah, the Caps sent a second-round pick to Pittsburgh for Anthony Beauvillier, as per Chris Johnstone.
And did Jason Zucker sign with Buffalo?
Zucker extension done in Buffalo as per Darren Dreger, 2 years, 4.75 per year.
Okay.
That happened fast.
Yeah. The one quote I'm seeing, and it's from the TSN hockey side, it just says, "I don't get it." That's never a good thing.
Well, and then you look at Carson Soucy to the Rangers.
Right?
What was that all about?
I don't know. Well, nobody knows what Chris Drury's doing. He's a different cat.
A wild man.
He's a wild man. Don't get him angry. What are you going to say?
Well,
know you've got something. I can tell.
was actually going to ask you. I
What
was
were you
going to
gonna
ask you what your opinion is, but I was going to talk. I was going to wait till you were done talking because I wanted to tie this into something.
We're updated. What's going on?
Well, I was going to say that we were talking about ancillary people in your life, and the trade deadline is so interesting because people get moved around and their whole lives get uprooted on one day. It can be really stressful for a lot of people.
Sure.
I talked to Sam Gagner maybe like 3 years ago, right before the deadline, and just asked him because he was a child of an NHLer, and now he's a dad with like and he's still playing hockey, and so just how does what you think about the trade deadline change over time?
Oh, good question.
He's had a trade deadline in his life, his entire life.
Yeah, he's been traded on trade deadline.
Exactly, and so it's really interesting. And he was telling me that as a dad now, like it does kind of start to weigh on you, just the way that your life or your family will change, coming up to that day.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to hear all of these people, get moved around. I was wondering if you've ever encountered people or if you've ever had that talk with guys, when they get traded, what that
Yes. I go back to our boy Belzy, and he got traded once or twice on deadline day. I know from Edmonton to Colorado, which kind of sucked because like he was one of like the guys I knew and was very comfortable with, and I was like, oh man, he was a great resource. And then now he was single at the time, but there was one time he had been traded from the Oilers to the Avs. He only had X amount of things with him in Lake Erie, Cleveland, where he was playing on the farm team, and he got called up while the Monsters were on a road trip, and he had to go meet up with the Avalanche. And this road trip that they had gone on, it was a bus trip. I think it was like one of those 3 games, 3 nights in one city type of thing. And they said tracksuit only road trip. So they brought one little bag,
Brutal.
tracksuits only. He gets called up to the Avs. He said he had to go to TJ Maxx, really quickly. His agent gave him he calls it a horse blanket sport coat, and he had to find whatever pair of dress pants he could find, and they were wide enough in his thighs and hips, but they were too short. So he had flood pants and this horse blanket of a sport coat, and he had to fly, meet up with the team wherever the Avalanche were, and he had to play that night. And the guys on the team were like, "What are you wearing?" And he goes, "We were on a tracksuit road trip on the bus. Like, I didn't know I was getting called up." So there's things like that, like, because these guys, when they get traded, especially if they're a rental, they don't pack up and move everything.
Yeah.
Like last year, Adam Henrique, talking to him when he got traded from the Ducks, his wife and kids stayed in Anaheim for a little bit. They put him up at the JW. Later, as he got settled in, he started renting a condo at the JW. So he went from the hotel to the condo. The wife and kids came, and they thought it was going to be a short stay, right? He ends up signing here because he liked it. So that part of it's interesting. And then I know other guys, like I remember like Griffin Reinhart got a place in another tower thinking he was staying here for the year, got sent down.
Exactly.
It's
You don't really have any control over your life.
yeah.
And talk about like ancillary people. Like when you work in sports, you get really used to everybody at the arena.
Mm-hmm.
You get used to the elevator guy. You get used to that one usher, you know, and the one door that you always go to or whatever it is. Like you might not know them very well, or you might know them on like just to say hi. And then, but that's your community. And then
True.
all of a sudden you're in a totally new arena, totally new people. All of your people are gone. I think can be very hard to adjust to.
Yeah.
I think you have to be very good at compartmentalizing the shift and the change that's happening, which I guess is where sometimes sports psychologists come in.
Did you do a thing on George Mumford, by the way?
No, but I read his book.
You read his book.
Yeah.
He has not been around I have not seen him around the rink.
Interesting.
And when the team was sliding and had that stretch where they only had 2 wins in February, lost 6 of 7, people were saying they need George Mumford. Is he around? He's not around.
I wonder why.
I don't know,
Something for you to get
unless I
followed.
haven't seen him, but I have not.
That is
Usually he's
interesting.
buzzing around when he's with the team.
Huh.
Maybe he met up with them on the road. I don't know. I wasn't
Maybe.
there.
Yeah, or is he still working with them? Do you know?
I'm pretty sure he is.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe they were doing so good that they felt like they didn't need him. He's really good at, I was trying to remember parts of his book last night while I was watching the game, because he's really good at helping people like find the purpose in digging deep or in whatever like their challenges. Like it sounds kind of like woo-woo hippy dippy. And his book is a little bit that,
Mhm.
but it's also like you can see the logic in it basically. And he talks a lot about how about being in like the flow state basically, and how when guys or women are just like feeling it in the game, like they talk a lot about how the game slows down.
Mhm.
You hear people kind of like say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And basically like he talks about how to try to get into that flow state in your life so that you feel like you're seeing things clearly and it's slowing down the way that like a game slows down.
I like that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I was like thinking last night that I have to go reread parts of it because there's a lot of life lessons in that. Yeah.
Jay Milne, what do you got?
I'm just perusing and cruising Twitter here. What do you think is going to happen with this Ranin discussion with Dallas? And the only way that deal happens is if he re-signs. Now, a buddy of mine and I were texting this morning, and he said now there's a lot more clarity on why Colorado had to move him. Because
Explain to those that might not know.
I think Ranin's really wants to head to free agency.
He wants to hit a home run this summer.
And
he's the guy.
And I don't know that this trade's going to happen. I mean, if he's getting Leon Draisaitl kind of dollars, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
but is that going to happen in a time crunch, right? Somebody said in the chat that David Pagnotta had a tweet on it.
Thanks.
And how about that round of clicks for your guy Dave Pagnotta on
That's right,
breaking
he's one of the
that
best.
Jake Wallman trade yesterday, right?
We all know Dave.
We saw that we that happened live at near just after the 5 o'clock hour on our show, and that was exciting. That was because that was a name, right? That
Yep.
wasn't necessarily on many people's trade bait boards as a player that was available. And it kind of was reminiscent of that Ekholm deal where it came out of nowhere. And now you're saying, okay, you're doing your homework on all these, Mark Savard and, these kind of defensemen. But we'll have to talk about that. But what did you see what Pagnotta said about?
Okay, I'm trying to find out which one of his posts would catch the attention of Oilers fans. The one that stands out to me is from an hour ago. It says, as the Blackhawks work on an extension with Ryan Donato, failing that, they're likely to move him. They're also listening on Pat Maroon. He's in play as well. That one is I just did a quick scroll through, and that's the one that stands out to me. Unless somebody could just send it to us via the inbox, 780-218-9999. I don't know what else would resonate with Oilers fans. And I'm just scrolling through. Like, he's been very active today. Pags has been. And I know, and I was told yesterday from the team that they're looking at a forward. And that's about it for today.
Yeah.
Unless something comes up.
I think if you could find a fit, a half decent forward turns into one of your top 6 on this team, right?
Look how Max Jones played last night.
Hey, that was nice to see that.
Nice.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Is that indicative of how he would play the remainder of the year or whatever the situation is? Probably not, mate. But hopefully. Hey, it was
a simple game.
It was a great first impression.
Yeah.
And you only get one chance at those. And he knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
And actually, Tom, his name always escapes me. The defenseman that was in last night for the Oilers.
Stetcher?
No.
Cam Dineen.
Boom. Throwing him out in overtime, with less than, that was a big boost of confidence for a young player to be thrust into that position.
Yeah.
And you can see he was hesitant with the puck because there was, I think, under a minute left. Yeah. And he had the puck in his own zone, and you could see things were changing, and he was just happy to okay, come on, I'm off.
Come get it. I'm ready.
Yeah. But that was nice to see.
Refreshing.
Very.
Is there a trade deadline wish list that you have? Maybe you've talked about this already.
Well, we talked about it on our show a bit of the potential of a Brad Marchand, just the having him out there in the ether available. And Edmonton was listed. Now, this was prior to that deal last night with San Jose, and I just don't know cap-wise if they could make that happen unless Boston is going to retain a lot. Because I think Brad Marchand's a 6.5 cap hit.
Yes.
So they would have to retain 50% of that salary to move him if they want to do that. And I think everybody saw that tweet this morning from Hart Levine at Puckpedia saying that if the Oilers essentially move their entire non-playing roster to Baco, they could put Evander Kane back in the regular lineup and get him off LTIR. But I was also under the impression that, this is a foregone conclusion that Evander Kane is not ready and will wait to come back for the playoffs. So a lot of moving pieces. But we were saying, can you imagine a line with Brad Marchand, with Draisaitl centering Marchand and Perry?
Pretty good.
Old. It's old.
Yeah, that is old.
But they may have one more fight in them, one more push.
Some dog in that fight.
Do you
fighting
have
that dog.
Do you have a trade deadline wish list?
No, I don't get into. I don't.
No, you're agnostic.
Very much.
Whatever
so.
happens.
Yeah, whatever happens. Okay, this is the team you're bringing into it. All right, good luck.
Let's see how this goes. Yeah.
Sure.
Mark Lanigan in the Nasty Chat says, "Get dry a winger," and I think
That's
that
fair.
is, if you're asking for a wish list piece, player aside, that would be it. A top 6 second line winger for Draisaitl.
Because we've learned Arvidsson ain't it. They're not using Jeff Skinner, and Podkolzin being the best option and the most used option is not great either.
Yeah, they're playing around though, trying to figure that out.
Are they ever?
I'm sad about Jeff Skinner not working out.
You did a thing with
I
Jeff
know.
Skinner earlier.
I really
in the
wanted him
year.
to. I had
What was
faith for him.
Yeah, get everybody up to speed on that. What was your impression of Jeff Skinner? Because it's been a tough go.
It's no surprise. I think he's a really nice guy, and I just wanted the best for him. I thought it's still a cool story because he's never played a playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of setting myself up for like a better story later on where he makes the playoffs. And, knock on wood, he will. But it's just like not really. There's not much of a story there, though, because
He might be on a team that makes the playoffs, but I don't know if he's going to play.
That
in the
would
playoffs.
suck.
I know.
I mean,
You know what?
Oh, could
though?
you imagine not playing? Oh, but I asked him. I don't think I put this in the story. Maybe I did. I was like, do you have are you superstitious? Like, do you have any fears that you guys won't make the playoffs this year or that like you won't play?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, no, I don't think about things like that. And I was like, oh, I like if it's like my life, like let's say I'm at work or something and I join a really good team, I'm always worried that like I'm going to be the person that like makes the team like not good at work.
Oh, you need to read George Bufford's book more. Get
I know,
into the flow zone.
I know. That's why I'm reading the book. I got to get more flow. But he's like, no, I don't. I'm like, whatever. He's very much an athlete that way, but that would be a funny story.
Bonnie Dune Ron also wants to know what's the name of George Mumford's book. He texted in.
Oh, let me Google that.
You remember?
I don't remember. Off the top
Okay,
of my
look
head.
it up. All right. Jay, did you have something that you want to hit on there?
No, I mean, I guess we could talk a bit about what the trade is that did happen yesterday.
Yep.
In bringing Wallman from San Jose. What, like, is he going to be playing tomorrow? Is that the
Well, the deal's done. Yeah, he should. I mean, he should be able to
another
play.
left shot D, right?
Yeah.
So that's the question now. Is now we know the deal's done. There's nobody going the other way. Where does he fit in? And the initial thought is, well, Kulak can switch and do that. But in discussing this with that same friend I was talking about the Ranin deal with this morning, Ekholm played a lot on the opposite side in Nashville and is capable of doing that. So it'll be interesting to see, but it just offers you some depth. Now, what do you think? This was the question I had yesterday. This is great. Hey, shiny new toy that's -1 on a team that is awful.
Yep.
Is a testament to his playmaking ability. But this is an offensive defenseman, another offensive defenseman that, and there's probably two sides to this, but the thought process, at least what we had discussed and what was being said, was that they needed a shutdown defender, right?
I still am of that mind.
Right.
Yeah.
So although this adds what you already have, not a plethora of, but you have these tools in your toolbox already. Now you're adding another one. Is that suffice? Is that good enough?
What if? No, I understand because it's not really
addressing
satisfying
the issue,
right?
In my opinion.
What if he is good defensive?
Well, that's
I don't know.
the unknown.
I don't know much about Jake Wallman.
Yeah,
I'm being honest. I don't go out of my way to be like, Jake Wallman. I'm gonna watch him put the ISO cam on him tonight. I don't do that. Never have. I know he does the gritty when he scores big goals, and I know that he's been in the league for a while, and I know that he's been a good player on a bad team, many bad teams when he was with Detroit as well. So I don't know. I'm open to the possibility that maybe his plus minus indicates that he can actually play defense on top of providing offense. Because Ekholm is kind of that way too. He puts up 25, 30 points a year. He plays good defense. So.
Yeah, and judging from what the reaction was from San Jose media and fans, not happy to see him leave, which is always positive for Oilers fans.
Yeah.
Reed had a person that he's close with that is part of the San Jose Sharks team or organization that reached out to Reed right away and was almost devastated that this player was leaving. Yes.
That's a good feeling.
Was it Drew Remenda?
It was.
Yeah, I know Drewski. Well, we used to sit on the charter beside each other.
Yeah. I mean, he was on Dusty's show this morning with Lieutenant Eric.
Yeah.
And like that's exciting. That says a lot when an organization and people that are close to it, and not necessarily about the on ice as much, but just like, this is a good guy. He was a locker room guy. Because that was what I guess was an issue coming out of Detroit was that there were rumors that he wasn't so good in the locker room. And I mean, in San Jose, nothing but, positive reviews.
Interesting.
So,
Well, I was going to say, so I was recently talking with Teresa Resch, who is
Okay.
the president of the Toronto Tempo, which is the new WNBA team.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
She worked for the Raptors for 11 years before this.
Okay.
And I was asking her, what is the most important component of a winning team? Not that, she made personnel decisions, but just curious from her experience. And she's saying specifically in the WNBA, there's only like 12 roster spots or 11.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to fill out your roster with a star or a star or two, obviously. But then everybody else has to like be some kind of locker room person. So they have to fit in with the team dynamic and also bring like that grit that you need. And I think it's interesting when you think about that across all teams, because even in the NHL, like you're going to have those people who are performing night in, night out, but then everybody else sort of has to like figure out what role they're playing. And I think sometimes when trades happen, like trade deadline day is a great day to think about it.
Yep.
People are not always thinking about the locker room dynamic and the impact that makes. Like they're thinking about the on ice dynamic because they want to win,
Mm-hmm.
but winning is also so much about how everybody fits in with each other. So it's just interesting to think, okay, how does that impact the locker room? Obviously, people are professionals. When they come in, they expect you to, fit in with the group and find your place. But I think there's a lot to be said for those people who just are those leaders that you might not even know that they're leaders unless somebody in the organization's like, no, that was our guy. He was like, he kind of was
Right.
the glue. Yeah.
And okay, that's a good point too, because we're watching the Avalanche. Like they pull off that Brock Nelson trade yesterday. The Avs have traded and made a lot of moves this season to retool, and people go, "Wow, good player, good goalie." They've got everything sorted out. But what if that has messed up the dynamic of the locker room, and there isn't a cohesion, and they're not in their flow space,
Exactly.
flow zone? I
The
think
book
that's
is
what
called Unlocked, by the way.
Unlocked.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's the name of the book.
Yeah.
The George Montfort book.
Yeah.
Unlocked. And last night the trade happened while we were doing the post game show, and people were like, "Oh my God, now the Avs, Brock Nelson, the Central Division, good luck Oilers." Like that's some of the reaction we got on the post game. But I understood initially that was my rationale is like, wow, the Avs are going to be really good. However, I immediately thought about the New York Rangers 2 seasons ago, where they went and got remember there was that big arms race in the East?
Mhm.
Rangers flamed out. I think they did get past the first round. I think they were done in the second.
That
But-
can happen when you have a lot of stars.
Yeah.
and don't forget, Colorado's in a wild card spot. This is not a team blowing the doors back on, they are
beat
who
the
they
living,
are.
you know what, out of the Sharks last night. But yeah.
I also asked this question of Shea Weber when he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. I asked him about like Team Canada
No.
and what it's like to be on a dominant team and what makes like a team, like it's the kind of same question. Actually, I've asked a lot of people this question, and he said like everybody has to buy into their role. And sometimes you're like, this is common. This is not like a revelation to anybody, but
Right.
sometimes you're going to be asked to play a role that is not where you think you should be playing. And what can happen when you have so many stars is that people don't want to buy into that, or they don't.
Of course.
You have to trust, obviously, the coach's decision. But sometimes when you're a star, I mean, it's just your ego gets in the way. Like this happens. So I think there's something to be said for, like good on paper does not necessarily equate good vibes.
Right.
Yeah.
And good on the ice. Exactly.
Yeah.
You have something? Do you want me?
Just this dream right winger or dream winger that is Oilers fans are looking for and wanting. It's just something else has to go now, right? Like this is now a situation where this is money in, money out. Yeah. Right?
I would think so.
So you don't have picks. I think you're
don't.
giving those away like candy. This would have to be a move where somebody else is going the other way to make this happen. So, and as we found out through the course of this week, there's some no moves. So this is now, becoming it'll have to be quite the deal or maneuver to get another winger in here. So I'm not optimistic about it, is what I'm saying.
I respect that. We're going to dive into it more, but I need to mention that portions of this hour are brought to you by the Hive Product Marketing. The Hive Product Marketing, the official merch partner of EST, promotional products that bring the buzz. Check them out at thehiveproductmarketing.com.
Oh,
That was a good one. Oh, look how
it's even stood
I
up.
think I even made a mark on Tiger.
I think you
with
took
that
Tiger's leg out.
Yeah, I did. Watch out. Hey, you got a bad leg already. We did get a text in regard to what you were just saying, Jay. Ethan from Airdrie says, hey, boys and girls. Ethan from Airdrie here. I know the asking price is high on Ricard Raquel, and his $5 million AAV might be tough to pay, but any chance Edmonton can go after him. They can go after him, but making it fit is pretty tough. I don't know if they have the space. They'd have to trade guys, send guys down.
What do the Oilers currently have available?
Let's check
per cap?
Puckpedia. We have to check Puckpedia. I'm not sure.
Would-
The Wallman thing is 3.4, no salary retention. If Kane's not coming back, and all indicators are he's not going to be back before playoffs.
Current cap space, 300,560.
There you go. So that's going to be really tough to pull off. You need to trade like Arvidsson and Skinner, basically.
Reed is very apprehensive to even suggest that Jeff Skinner would remove his no move. But I think the Oilers are like definitely trying to force his hand.
I'm with Reed on this one.
Yeah, and why would you?
Right, exactly.
He's got you right. He's got you by, he's got you in a really good situation. And you could just throw your hands in the air and say, well, whatever. You don't want to play me, that's fine, but at least I'm still collecting a really good paycheck.
From two teams.
Oh, yeah. Have you seen? Jeff Skinner is the Kirk Cousins of the NHL. His agent deserves a massive bonus. He's made over $100 million in his career.
Shut up.
Jeff Skinner.
Has he?
Like his contracts, yes. It's ridiculous. He's still getting paid for Buffalo.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like he's the Barry Bonilla of
Bobby Bonilla.
Or Bobby
That's
Bonilla.
right.
Sorry.
Every July 1st is Bobby Bonilla Day
Bobby
until like
Bonilla Day.
2029. You did a feature on him. I've only like talked to him for 2 minutes outside of interviews.
Jeff.
Yeah.
That was back when I thought he was going to work out. Yeah.
Yeah, well, he's still on the team.
You know what? Like that is, I don't know what it is, but there is a likability about him.
He is. He's so likable.
He's just, he just reminds me of a happy little kid. You know what I mean? I know he's not a little kid, but that's when you see him, he just seems like a happy. There's nobody in this market that would not want him to figure it out and get it going. And maybe if he's, more than likely, it looks like he will be an Oiler at the end of the day. Maybe something clicks. I don't know. Maybe somebody else comes in. Maybe Arvidsson is more like the pest that Oilers fans are familiar with from his days with LA and can get it going. I don't know. But it was a real, neither of those worked out.
No,
so that's a lot of egg on face for this organization.
Yeah. One thing though about the Oilers fan base, they are a tough fan base, but they're also forgiving. If you I feel like if you turn it around, they will accept you. So like you said, like if he does, if at the end of the day he's an Oiler and he is able to perform, I feel like all can be forgiven.
If he scores one goal in the playoffs, one goal that they deem as vital, he will be beloved.
Right.
Yeah.
He contributed. He served his role.
Right.
Yeah.
Pierre LeBrun has said that he's hearing the Islanders have told pending UFA Kyle Palmieri that they're not trading him today and to focus on working on a contract extension over the coming days.
I'll take another potential trade chip off the board then. What do you think of Kyle Palmieri? He's been around forever. Very consistent, very solid. New York type of guy. He's only played in New York and New Jersey, right? Or pardon me. Well, the Islanders in New Jersey. So,
I just got a text from your friend Steve Wino.
Ah, what did
He
Wino
says,
say?
Hello.
Hello, Steven.
Yeah.
Steven,
He's listening.
feed us updates as we go along, and great to have Well, we had Wino on before the Washington
Yeah,
game.
I think Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think I saw one on with him like during finals last year.
Oh, he was here too.
yeah.
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 He was great. He was my co-host. We were at Hudson's, Bourbon Street, and Wino was co-host and analyst one whole show. Or two whole shows.
He's already been hoping that he'll be coming back to Edmonton in June.
Oh, I know.
So
Good. He's a great guy.
we're all hoping.
Stephen Wino, check him out, Associated Press. It's the Hangout. Text us 780-218-9999. Get to the nasty chat. Keep an eye on Kevin Weeks, too. Kevin Weeks is a great insider. He just put out a thing about Brad Marchand. No team needs NHL Bruins Marchand more than Maple Leafs. He's a winner. They could use his big-time playoff experience. Maple Leafs have been quiet, hey? We haven't heard much from them.
That would be annoying.
If they got Marchand?
Yeah, that'd be very annoying.
Don't disagree.
Dex in the nasty chat is critical of us.
Oh,
Three.
what's up, Dex?
How did you guys not check these numbers before the show? Bush League. He said, bye.
Bye,
Bye,
Dex.
Dex.
It's called the Hangout.
Hey, man, this number's been changed. Check out how many times it's changed in the last 24 hours. Dex.
Yeah, Dex.
Jeez, Dex.
Like,
Take it
Dex.
easy, brah.
We're just hanging out. We're just having fun.
Man.
Yeah. Sorry.
We could switch from NHL to PWHL for a minute.
Let's do that.
Okay.
Let's do it for Dex. In honor
right,
of
Dex.
Dex.
In honor of Dex. This is
is
for
gonna
you.
be a quick pivot.
You've been covering PWHL since the beginning.
Yes.
We haven't seen you in a little while. The game happened here. What do we need to know?
Okay, so first off, I wasn't at the game because I was at Scotty's. So,
okay.
but were you at the game?
No, I didn't
Okay.
make it. It was
What do you guys sense was the general vibe in the city about the game?
very positive.
Seemed really positive to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, like the league's testing markets for expansion, and so I've been curious. I want to know from your listeners, how many people out there think it's likely the PWHL will expand to Edmonton next season? Because we know that they put out a request for proposals in fall of 2024 for 2 possible new cities.
Okay.
So they asked cities to like submit, to maybe have a team come. Then they said in mid-February, within 4 to 6 weeks, they would make an announcement about possible expansion. So we're kind of getting into that time frame now. Of course, there's a chance they don't expand at all,
Right.
but there is also a chance they expand by up to 2 teams. And I think Edmonton is a market they're considering, especially given how well the game went here. So I'm just curious what people think and what you think. Like, have you heard anything? Do you have any feeling about it?
No, I haven't heard anything about expansion. Like, I would think OEG would be the logical choice to put another team in to get more dates filled at Rogers Place. I'm guessing it would be because Montreal plays out of Laval.
Yeah.
I saw that. I was watching the game a bit the other day, and I saw that they were playing, I think it's Bell Place or whatever, which is a 7,000 or 8,000 seat arena. It's supposed to be really nice. So I would assume if Edmonton were to get an expansion PWHL team, they'd probably just have lower bowl plus loge and suites.
Yeah, that's true. They definitely couldn't. I mean,
yeah.
they sold out. They sold out for that one game, but for an entire season, I don't think that they could fill the whole arena.
Yeah, showcase is one thing. I mean,
Yeah.
the same thing with like WNBA. I think like at this point would probably be along the same lines. Like they sold out for the showcase game, testing markets. I don't know. I feel like at some point there will be a PWHL team here. I don't know if Edmonton's the next destination and if they went to expand by 2.
Yeah, so no one really knows exactly where they're going to go. They could expand in the east so that they have an easier travel schedule. But by expanding by 2 teams kind of makes me think they're going to put 2 out west to make a nice road trip.
Yeah, and as every other team is in the East, at least if there was 2 teams in the West, you could make a schedule around it
Exactly.
and have your Western swing. But my immediate reaction to that is sure. Yeah, I think they could. I guess the success of it would depend on the model. Is this an NHL model or is this more of a Oil Kings model? Right? Oil Kings do an incredible job. We have Kevin Radomski on our show quite a bit of making it accessible and affordable and enjoyable for families. Because the honest truth is there's not 80% of people in Edmonton can't afford to go to Oilers games. And then probably 15 of those that are remaining can, but it's still a stretch. You know what I mean? It's just priced out. It's ridiculous. The Oil Kings can say, hey, you can come to this game and you can have a $3 hot dog, or, you know, and I always reference the Stingers too, because I have season tickets with the Stingers. I split them with Damon. That is a model that I can get behind because you can take your family there and it's affordable. I'm very anti, you know, I'll just say it, like the model for OEG and the pricing and the gouging is just ridiculous to me. I had season tickets. I gave them up a long time ago because the way it was trending, well, not a long time ago, 2022, it's ridiculous. And they know they can do it. And that's the problem. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. This team is going to stink again. One
5
day.
to 10 years from now. Yes.
They are going to be awful. And you know, you try to charge the prices that you're charging right now and see what that arena looks
$20 for
like.
a glass of wine when
It's
the team's
just absurd.
Yeah. Well, it is $20.
It's a slap in the
for a glass of wine.
face is what it is.
Like, and to Jay's point, 2025-26 pricing came out for renewals. A friend of mine texted in his renewal price, $36,000 for 2 seats, club section, very nice seats, obviously, aisle, and $29,000 for the season. For playoffs, $36,000.
Yes. We were just talking in my family about the playoff ticket prices.
Yeah, you guys have season seats. You were at the game last night watching one of the seats, right?
Yeah, and we'll pay it, but it's crazy how expensive the playoff seats are.
Yeah.
And I hate and trust me, I like going to my cousin, and this is the other thing too. My cousin owns a very successful business. So business people that have that, okay, I get it. You can use it as a bit of a write-off, as a form of
You're
entertainment
people,
and sales or you know, networking, whatever you call it. But I'm going to a game tomorrow night. I enjoy going there, right? I'm not as much of a curmudgeon as I may sound. But you know, to continually do these increases and they're really just taking advantage of what they've got right now.
Yes.
And
100%.
you know, business ethics wise, there is none here. There's absolutely none. This is, I get it. The stadium's full. The arena's full, right? But there will be a time when that changes.
So here's my question. So if you could pay like 75% of the price and feel good about going to a game because you're supporting women's hockey and the energy is great because there's tons of kids there and, you know, it's really fun.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like, I think that's a no-brainer. A lot of people would go. Is that going to cannibalize maybe like Oil Kings tickets, or would OEG not want?
Yeah, there's only as many as so many expendable dollars for your audience or for your fans. But the thing is that with the PWHL in particular is that there is a massive change happening right in front of our eyes with women's sports. It's becoming more mainstream. It's becoming something that you can find easily. And it's, you know, the Caitlin Clark effect, all that, right? It's awesome because now you're having, you know, you're able to, the NCAA women's tournament last year had a better viewership at some points than the men's NCAA tournament.
I know from some of my stories on theScore app, the WNBA stories get more readers than the NHL stories.
Really?
The WNBA is by far a better product on the court than the NBA. By far.
Better basketball.
The NBA is a glorified three-point shooting contest.
That's true.
Nobody plays defense. And I mean, you watch a women's NCAA game, my gosh, we watched a game, Notre Dame versus North Carolina State. It was exhilarating. It went to over, like the passion and the actual ball play, like the actual game of basketball is on display. And they're actually running offenses. And there's people, believe it or not, there's people playing defense. You wouldn't believe it.
Weird.
Yeah. But it's
two sides
by
of the court,
far a better product. than the NBA. So there's a lot of things going for that, and it's great. I have 3 daughters. I've talked about them excessively on our show. They now have somebody that they can look at and be like, oh, hey, that's, so and so, and she used to play for they can follow women in
They can
sports now
identify with
professionally,
someone.
right?
Yeah.
And there's so many young ladies and girls that are playing hockey.
Yes,
It is massive. So now they can have that experience and because it's always looking up to somebody, right? It's saying, when I was young, I looked up to Tracy Ham.
Right.
That was my guy, right?
Yeah.
And you need that in order to propel yourself to get to the next levels in sports.
Well, it's interesting. I did a story on expansion and I interviewed a bunch of fans in kind of a couple different cities. But one young girl I talked to in Edmonton who's 11 really loves hockey. And you would think growing up in Edmonton, obsessed with hockey in this era, when you have maybe the best hockey player to play in your market, you would want an Oilers themed birthday party. And actually, the last 2 years, she's asked her mom for a PWHL themed birthday party.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. And so I asked, why? Why the PWHL over the Oilers over Connor McDavid? And it's just a matter of she actually relates to the players.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a lot to be said for that. And in my opinion, I feel like Edmonton could support a team. I mean,
I think so.
Yeah, I don't think they could. I don't think it would sell out, the entire arena.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we could support a team at 7,000 to 10,000
Yeah.
a game.
And if you're asking for 36,000 for playoff tickets for the PWHL team, that's a bit steep.
Right. I don't think that. I have a feeling it's going to be a bit more affordable.
It would have to be.
It has to be. It has to be. And you said the word cannibalism. It is. But with the Oil Kings, I mean, but they're different markets, thankfully, right? I mean, you look at the PWHL crowds, and it's a large, female-dominated audience, right?
It is. Well, actually, I've been to a lot of PWHL games. It's actually very mixed.
Is it?
Yeah, I've been surprised by how many people just kind of completely across the board.
I guess I was more comparing it to that takeover that was here, where my social media feed lit up like a Christmas tree with, dads and their daughters.
Yes,
and,
there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that.
And yeah, that's awesome. I think that's great. If there's a way to make it swing. Now they would have to find the second team or, potentially third team eventually out west to make it viable for the league.
Yeah. So where does that second team go? Which is why
Calgary loves hockey teams. They got how many hockey teams?
Well,
they got?
it ain't gonna be
5 in
Calgary.
one building, so.
it ain't gonna be
Yeah,
Calgary.
what's another one, right?
The league said that the most important thing is the building and then the practice facilities. And they didn't go to Calgary for the takeover tour. No. I think it's between Seattle. If they do come west, it would be between Seattle and Vancouver, putting 2 teams there.
That makes sense.
Yeah, or Edmonton and Denver.
Awesome.
Elliot Friedman has posted, it sounds like Andrei Kuzmenko is on the move from Philadelphia to
Where?
LA.
Not having a great season, that Andrei Kuzmenko. Not having a great season. And that was a quick stay in Philly for him. Also, just another update from Deadline, because it's been very slow. Nothing between Ranin and the Stars. They're still at a stalemate. Jonathan Kovacevic, who everybody knows and loves, is re-upping with the New Jersey Devils. I did get a text I want to get to about our topic that we're discussing right now with the PWHL. Big Dave chiming in says, I didn't get to the PWHL game, but I really wanted to go and take my daughters. For people I know who went, I heard it was a great experience, and they all said they would go again. I think Edmonton would be an ideal market for them to expand, and I would be more likely to go to a PWHL game than an Oilers game, just from an affordability standpoint.
Right on, Big Dave. I'm with you on that. I would love a third team in Edmonton. I would love to have the PWHL here. I don't know if it's a pipe dream, but
I think it could happen.
Yeah, I think it could. They also got
it could absolutely, it could happen. It's just, is there a sustained, market for it? And I know I can't say this enough, but it just comes down to their game plan.
Yes.
Right. And the strategy, because it has to be family friendly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which it seems like in the other markets it is. I know Scepters, I've never bought a ticket. I actually can't. don't exactly know how much ticket prices are, but it seems to be affordable. I think I need to have more hard numbers on that. But that does seem to be there. I think when they started the league, it's the same thing that the Toronto Temple are trying to do. They're trying to just like get as many people to buy into the lore and the traditions and feel part of it, feel like it's theirs. So I know that at least like last year at the beginning of the league, they wanted to make it very affordable and welcome people in. I mean, that's what you have to do when you're starting something. So I think it would be affordable. And I know that in Edmonton, out of like, well, for sure between Edmonton and Vancouver, but even out of some of the other takeover tour stops, Edmonton had a lot of government support in the form of, they planned like a panel the day before.
Quinn Phillips did one.
Might have been the same one I'm thinking of. Yeah. And they also did like some like clinics and stuff like that. And so there's a lot of like community support, which I don't know if all the other cities had. I mean, of course, every city that was on the tour was supportive of it, but I think Edmonton kind of stood out in that way, which makes me like think, oh, that's another feather in our cap for potentially attracting a team here.
Okay, good that you bring that up because Shanzi has a few texts that kind of hits on that. Jay will keep you up to date on any trades that are happening or any moves around the National Hockey League. It is the EST Hangout. Tom Gazzola, Jolene Latimer from theScore, and Jay Milne, our EST Glue Guy. Portions of this hour are brought to you by the legend of 1952. It is the Finnish long drink, a drink unlike any other sparkling refreshment, real liquor, longdrink.com/Canada. You can get them at Rogers Place now. So there you go. Shanzi texting in. This ties in the Oilers and potential PWHL. Shanzi says, we paid $8,790 this season for upper bowl seats, a pair for Oilers. Next season, $9,400. Yes, we use at least 50% of the tickets as a write-off for our business, but still, it's quite expensive. Edmonton is a really great limited edition exhibition type town. But for a regular gate for the PWHL, I don't think they could sell out Rogers Place on a regular basis. They would be more suited to play in the Silent Ice Center or something similar. Think of FC Edmonton. Edmonton looks amazing when they sell out Commonwealth Stadium for a World Cup qualifier, but they can't keep a soccer team afloat consistently. I would say same thing would happen with the PWHL. Silent Ice Center is great, but I think it's only like 1,500 seats.
Oh, yeah, that wouldn't be enough.
Yeah.
But I mean, good. I totally agree that we could not sell out a full arena for a full, but I think the PWHL is more in like the 5,000 to 7,000.
I looked up the league average when we were talking about that takeover because that was the discussion. Can they do a team? It's right around 7,500 is the attendance league average.
The averages are a little skewed for a couple of reasons. One is that Boston and New York have terrible attendance, so they bring the average down.
I see.
Yeah. The second is that Toronto last season was at Mattamy, which has a really low capacity.
It's like what, like 4,000?
Yeah,
Not even?
if
That's the old Maple Leaf Gardens, by the way. They built an arena basically inside the roof portion, the dome of Maple Leaf Gardens.
And it is a great arena.
Yes.
And the games there were awesome because it's the energy it's so close. Everything. It's a really good arena, but was way too small for them. So now they play where the Marlies play.
It used to be called Ricoh Coliseum. What's it called now? Coca-Cola Center, yeah.
So that's a better size for them. And I think that's 5,000 to 7,000.
Yeah.
So now they're at a better. So that artificially deflated Toronto. But I mean 7,000 is probably like accurate. But could it be higher if like they figured out Boston and New York, and if they were at Coca-Cola last season, probably a little bit higher.
Where do they play in Boston and New York? Is it at the Devils? I see the Devils practice facility.
That's where they're playing now.
Yeah.
But last season it was all over I was in Connecticut a little bit. It was some games in New York. Like they did not have a home. And now they're in New Jersey permanently.
Okay.
Which is interesting. They're not going to give up on New York, but that's a problem. Not having a place in New York State for the New York team that fans can reliably go to. So I think now that they're like in an arena permanently, it's a little bit easier. And then Boston, last year, I don't know if they moved this year. I have to check on that. Last year, they were just a little bit outside of town.
Okay.
And so I think I heard that it was like maybe challenging to get to. But I also just feel like those markets are so saturated that it's really, really hard to establish a team.
Yeah.
So like some of the games in Boston are like crickets. Like they're playing to like a crowd of 20. It's not good. So I actually asked, will that have any impact on expanding? Like, is it wise to expand when there's 2 markets that are really poorly attended? And the answer to that was no. So, or that they don't think that has any bearing on expansion. That's not something they're thinking about. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
Fraser says the players in the PWHL would not be able to afford to live in Vancouver. They live in New
Toronto.
York. They live in Boston. I think what's the minimum salary in the PWHL now? Like 75,000.
Yeah. They plus a lot of them have sponsorships. They live in Toronto. Yeah. No, I think that they could live in Vancouver.
This text coming in. Let's see. We got a lot of text coming in. Has anyone heard if the Wings ownership has, switching back to the NHL really quickly here, has anyone heard if the Wings ownership has put a constraint on Yzerman this deadline? It seems quieter than normal in Detroit than usual.
They've just got him tied up in the office. No more moves. No
more moves. It's quiet on the deadline front, to be honest with you. Like we've been on the air for over an hour and
Well, I'll ask this. This is deadline related.
Okay.
I'm putting both of you on the spot.
go for it.
What, in your mind, in recent memory, is the worst trade deadline flop? Something that just did not work that people were really excited about.
Alish Kodalik comes to mind. The Oilers, I think it was like 09.
Okay.
They brought in, was it O'Sullivan and Kodalik? Kodalik wasn't particularly great. The Ryan Smith trade was awful. We all remember that in 07. I was in...
Heartbreaking.
Yeah, I was in college. I was at Nate, and we didn't think... It was that stalemate between Kevin Lowe and Ryan Smith. I want to talk about stalemate, and it ended up coming down to $100,000 per year difference.
So sad.
And
He was our guy.
Yeah.
He was our franchise player.
Yeah. Ryan O'Mara, Robert Nielsen, and I think a couple of first rounders for Smitty. And that was a flop. That was brutal on both sides. The Oilers fell apart that season.
Right. And talk about alienating the fan base. I mean, that's where you were getting at a little bit with the money, but trading away and talk about locker room guys.
Well, that was Mark Messier jersey retirement night, and Craig McTavish had to read the speech and fill in for Kevin Lowe because they were worried that the fans would absolutely destroy Kevin Lowe in the arena. Guess what? They probably would have. That was a smart decision.
Valid fear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Real quick update. Kuzmenko, 2027 third rounder going to Philly. And the Flyers also sent back a 2025 seventh rounder.
And Philly's retaining 50% of Kuzmenko's salary. A lot of retention going on,
Yes.
it seems.
Yes.
Is that the word of the day or the word of the trade deadline is retained?
Yeah, I guess so. But you can only retain so much, right? Any deadline flops like Jolene was asking about that comes
We
to
went
mind?
over deadline like celebrations yesterday. So
Well,
I
I'm in a more negative mood today. So
yeah,
let's talk
no,
about
that's a little more
flops.
gritty for
Yeah.
sure. I don't know.
Okay,
I mean, Jolene, you have to understand this about me, and I'll just be honest, because that's what I am.
You're very honest.
I'm not a like huge Oilers person, like fan.
okay.
I've become a fan of the like now the media side of things for sure, and it's exciting sitting in the bullpen with Reed, and I ask him a lot of questions because
Yes.
there's a lot of stuff I don't know, and I'm very self-aware of that, but I'm getting better at it, and it's interesting. But was I like breaking down these deals, like the little ones, like
The minutia.
Yeah, no.
Well, okay. Well, I mean, I don't want to repeat what you already talked about, but what was one of your big celebrations? that
Well,
you
I
guys
had to
brought
go to something that just came top of mind was that, but it wasn't a trade deadline deal, but it was Chris Pronger coming here.
Yeah, that's like that's
Right,
one
and
that you can always.
That's
go to.
just great. Jason Smith
Mm-hmm.
was, I believe, a trade deadline deal.
I think so.
We got acquired him from Toronto for 2 draft picks that didn't turn out to be anything. That was the Oilers were Jason Smith's 4th team.
What?
When
He was in New Jersey, then Toronto. What other teams was he
I
with?
was looking at that. I tried finding that, but it said it in this article I found on it, and he said that was his 4th team.
I know he went to Philly for a bit. And
Doug Waite, the Doug Waite deal.
Dougie Waite. I do have a couple of stories deadline-wise. Really quickly, confirmation from Elliot Friedman, Ottawa Buffalo deal. Norris, Bernard Docker for Cousins, Gilbert, and a second in 2026. So that's probably the biggest one right now. I have a couple of deadline stories. So one was David Perron. His name was being discussed. We were in Denver, and I think he played that game. And we knew he was kind of on the block. I think we had an availability with him. I think it was an afternoon game. And it was the end of a road trip. And then we're on the plane after the game. They lost, of course. This was a decade of darkness. They were terrible. And Perron comes up to myself, Stoff, Jack, and I think it would have been Remenda at the time by that point. And he's like, what's going on? He's like, I honestly don't know. He's like, my agent's texting me stuff. What are you guys hearing?
He's asking you?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
But also, big hint, if there's an availability, then...
Well, he knew he was being traded, but like,
okay.
and it was like when Wi-Fi on planes, so the charter finally got Wi-Fi, and we were like checking, and nobody wanted to go ask. Was it Mac T that traded him? I think it was Mac T that traded. Nobody was going to go up to him and be like, hey, Mac, what are you doing? So we're just like, yeah, you're pretty much done. Like, you just played your last game, dude. And he's like, oh, man, it sucks. Like, and he was like genuinely sad. He's like, I don't want to be traded, but he's like, I get it.
He didn't want to lose the ancillary people in his life.
I didn't want to lose those people.
The people at Sobeys that he likes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
He was a good Oiler, but I remember him just like being disappointed. He didn't hide his feelings. He was one of those guys that just told you straight up how he felt. He wasn't shy or bashful about stuff like that. And he's like, I really like it here. I don't want to be traded. I think this team will be good eventually. Sure enough, it took
a while.
them losing and Connor McDavid being won in the draft lottery essentially for them to get to that point. He got bounced around a bunch. And I remember him being like, oh, I don't want to get traded. I like it here. And I was like, wow, he's a good player that wants to stay here, and they're getting rid of him. And the trade wasn't very good either. God bless Rob Klinkhammer. Great guy. Colonel Klink, but that was...
What a name.
Great dude. I think he's back in Lethbridge, played in a charity hockey tournament with Klink. So he's still kicking around. And
there's so many nicknames you can choose from a last name like Klinkhammer.
Yeah.
And then the other one I remember was when oil change was still a thing. Remember the documentary?
Right.
The Oilers in the shortened season 2012-13 due to the lockout were playing well, got into 8th place after a big win in Calgary. I remember we're at the Saddle Dome. We're like, all right, like big win, deadline's coming up. They're going to make a move here. And they ended up getting Jared Smithson. I think out of Nashville at the time, or Columbus. And that was the depth center that they decided was going to put them over the top. And I think Hork, if I recall correctly, was like, that's it? That's all we got? It was Jared Smithson? No offense to him, but like, that's it? And then sure enough, I think they ended up losing 8 of the next 10.
Do you, at that point as a player, do you lose confidence because you see that the team doesn't have confidence or you see the front office doesn't have confidence in the team, so they're not really going for it?
Yeah.
You'd have to.
I think that
sure.
like filters down.
Yeah.
And to that point, looking here at this team being the Oilers, what are their thoughts right now in that locker room? I think they feel good.
They should.
They've, the Frederick is, that's the other thing too, is this Frederick deal could potentially be a huge deal. Depending, there's so many unknowns with him though, right? But the attitude in there must be like, okay, they're putting something together here that can propel us, right? Is it? I don't know. It's just, is it enough? I mean, you look at that. Was it the second goal for the Canadians last night? Like you or I could have scored that. There was nobody around.
You mean the slapper from 25 feet out?
Yeah, like that's still a concern. And does Jake Wallman fix that?
I don't know.
I don't know. Does Frederick fix that?
That was
I don't know.
Very soft defensive posturing by the Oilers. They
So-
left the middle of the ice wide open.
But that's been an issue since training camp.
That's right.
You know, and this was the talk coming out of training camp was, yes, this team is sparse defensively, but if they can put it together and get themselves into a position where they're they're in the playoffs come trade deadline, this team's going to put it all together and make something happen. Right? So
Seems like they're going with the same strategy of let's just outscore all of
yeah,
our problems.
But they're not
6-5. Here we
scoring
go.
a ton.
No,
like that's
but
the thing. They
it's-
remember we're
They
talking
will
about
again, though,
6-5
Tom.
games.
I
Oh, you
truly
think so?
believe that they will. I think this team is so streaky.
I was just about to say that word.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they've been streaky. They were streaky last year. They've obviously been streaky this year. But that team was by far the best team in the NHL for a stretch throughout December and January.
22-6-1.
Yeah, just incredible.
Yeah.
They were world beaters. There was a point where Reed and I were talking about going for it and winning the President's Trophy.
Yeah.
Like that was a serious conversation. They were 6 points back. So that team is there. That mentality of, oh, they're down 2-0. Don't worry. They can grind this out and get the win. They can come back.
Mm-hmm.
That mentality is still there somewhere in the fragility that is the Edmonton Oilers right now.
They need to get to the flow zone.
Right, exactly. They need to slow the game down, start seeing the puck.
Simplify.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Bones says Oilers are streaky like Jay's boxers.
Whoa.
That's disgusting.
Bones,
Something I
where are we
didn't want
going
to
with
think of.
that
I
one?
did not want to think about that.
780-218-9999.
Gross.
That's
New topic.
that's just disgusting.
I
Bones.
know, Bones. What are we doing?
Shame
here?
on you. Can you time him out? No, just kidding.
That was an inbox.
Ah.
This one comes in from Bogner. Says he definitely bought an Alish Kodalik jersey that season.
Wow.
Oh, a couple $100 there. Pat says Mike Green was a disappointment. Trade deadline, played 2 games, got hurt, didn't come back for the bubble. That was a weird time. And then this one says it's from Jeffy. When Tambellini was super excited that he landed Jared Smithson, LOL, just brutal. And I'd have to go back and find this episode, and I don't care to. But I swear to God, when they showed the clip of Tambellini making the phone call, picking up Smithson, I'm pretty sure he said Jeremy and not Jared.
Oh, no.
Oh God. I do want to see that.
Mike Bealey and Sergio Oliveras were the main producers, camera videographers for Oil Change for all 4 years. There are a few other guys. Kelly Wolfert was one of them, I think, as well. Art Ram was with the team a little bit, and I might be missing 1 or 2 others. Don Metz produced it, and Aquila, which became OEG Productions eventually. But man, like talking to Beals, I worked on Wild TV, Bozone Live with Bealey the last 5 years. By Troy. There goes the Godfather. And he's like, the stuff that we saw on Oil Change, although for the first couple seasons, pretty cool, revealing, neat, popular. He's like, the stuff that we saw pales in comparison to what ended up on the cutting room floor that OEG said, no, that cannot go.
Yeah, that's too
Or
bad.
Rexall Sports and Entertainment at the time.
Yeah, which is too bad because Oil Change was ahead of the curve as far as like behind the scenes sports stuff.
Yep.
There weren't really any sports docs like that. This whole sports doc boom, Oil Change was at least 5 to 7 years in front of it. And it's very like forward thinking. But in hockey, as we know, there is always the traditional sort of conservative, not wanting to show too much.
Yep.
And that, unfortunately, fans want to see all that. Like all the drama and all the funny, weird stuff that happens behind the scenes is one thing the NBA's done so well with. And hockey's behind on that. But had an opportunity, had the right idea with Oil Change. Oil Change was ahead of its time for sure, I think.
From season 1 to I think season 4 where it wrapped up, it just pale. It was just a far cry from even what it was. Like,
Yeah, because the more corporate people get involved and see what's happening, the more.
it's the people that use buzzwords. It's the people that all they do is meetings, and it's
Right.
people that are so disconnected, even though they're supposed to be dialed in.
What's a good
consultants.
buzzword?
Oh,
Synergy,
Ugh.
yeah.
silos.
Oh yeah.
What's a silo? A
Everyone's
silo's
in their silos.
somewhere where
when
you
find ways to
store
get through
grain.
Silos. These crappy buzzwords. I remember I would have to, for some reason, I'd get dragged into these marketing meetings, and I had nothing to do with marketing ever, especially when I was there. But they would drag me in, and I would sit there and I would just listen. And I'm like, why am I here? First of all. Secondly, I'm like, everybody's saying the same thing. You go around a boardroom of 12 people, and they're all saying the same thing. And the impression I would always get is everybody tried to sound more important than the last person.
Right.
And I'm like, that meeting proved nothing. I don't know what happened for the last hour, but that was stupid.
Throw a couple buzzwords around, follow up in an email, set another meeting for 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. And I'm like, call to action.
Oh, that's classic.
Call to action. I would be like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
ROI, return on investment. I was just like, these are stupid things that I don't need to know about. And all these people that we have hired are talking about, and we got nowhere. So
What's a silo as a buzz?
So everyone would be in their
silo,
silos in their departments, and there'd be no communication between
Cross
these
collaboration.
silos. Yeah, nobody was working together or with perfect synergy.
Yes.
Silos in real life are actually quite dangerous.
Are they now?
Yes, grain storage.
Yeah,
Uh,
they can catch on
in
fire.
2022, there were 42 grain entrapment deaths, which
That's
was
Where?
an
Which
increase
country?
from
Bad
in
way
the
to go.
U.S.
Oh boy.
Terrible way to go.
So
Well, it's
Yeah.
like quicksand in there.
Yeah.
right.
You just can't get out.
Yeah.
That's the silos that I would refer to.
Yeah, on the business corp. Like, I remember we would bring in these like marketing people from other cities that would be, in Toronto. We brought in a guy that put a outdoor rink on a skyscraper in Toronto for a beer company.
That is cool.
They made him head of marketing here.
Oh.
No clue what he was doing.
Yeah.
Total mess. Total mess. I could tell he was a phony from day one. Absolute fraud. And didn't care about the city, didn't care and respect the organization's history, didn't care about the staff.
That's
Just
the
an
problem.
absolute robot.
When it's a career move, yeah, it's what's the word? Flattering that people would see Edmonton as a place to come to advance their career and get the experience they need. But when it's just a career move to come here as a stepping stone to a bigger city,
Yeah.
that's when it's annoying because there's some people who are here because they want to be here
Yes.
and because they like the city.
Yes.
And
And they
it's
care
just-
about their job.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if you do have bigger dreams, down the line, still you got to respect the, what's already going on here. Yeah. That's frustrating.
Oh, it was the wrong guy and just a mess. They eventually he got rid of me, but they eventually got rid of him. It was very much an addition by subtraction. But I was just like, he wanted to meet with me and our entire crew. I had my first meeting with this guy, and I'm like, this guy has no idea what he's talking about. We're in trouble. Sure enough, big trouble. I mean, you got the crappiest jerseys in franchise history out of him, or second worst. Just a mess that
Well,
the
lots
new
of
guy
times-
has undone. which
Not
is
to
good.
be mean to anyone specific, but lots of
You should
times
say
when-
names.
No.
Names.
When
Come on.
people come into an organization, you see this all the time in politics or business or whatever. I mean, I'm sure we've all had it happen to us. And they don't exactly know what they're doing. The best thing they could do is make changes right away to make it look like they're doing something.
Right.
Yeah. And then they can leave before those changes are ever measured. Hopefully. That's,
That is fair.
yeah.
that's
You
a
don't
good
want,
point.
I don't think that that's a good way to go about things, but you got to just consult. You got to throw some ideas on the board. I don't like when people do that, but that seems to be what people do. That's why whenever like someone new, when I used to work in like more corporate jobs, whenever someone new comes in, that they're going to lay off a couple people and hire some of their own people because
Right.
they
It
just wanna
happens
make some-
everywhere.
they just want to make some changes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not
I
necessary.
digress.
Which is what today is all about. Today is the
I've
day.
had 2 jobs in my life.
Oh, lucky.
Yeah.
You're from a generation where people stayed in their job.
Well, it was a family business. I couldn't leave.
Oh,
Now you just can't leave, is what
That-
my dad used to say.
that does happen.
No, it was a great part of my life, but I don't really miss it.
Did you guys use a lot of buzzwords in meetings?
We didn't have meetings. It would be me and my brother talking at our warehouse while we're loading up cube vans with furnitures. I don't know why
Well,
I
that's
pluralize furniture.
that is the better way to do things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. But I had done that job since I was 12. I'd never had like vacation days. I've never had that.
Those are overrated.
Well, they're actually quite hard to use. I got to be honest with you. Unless you're planning like a big, like I'm going away for skiing here soon, and that's something we do every year. But outside of that, I don't really have a big thing planned. Oh, weekends. Now that's hey, the real world
What a
is
concept.
great
Something
for
new,
weekends.
yeah.
Never have weekends in retail. That's your busy time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would never be off on a Saturday. That would be like taking Boxing Day off.
How long did it take you to get used to having weekends?
I'm still not used to it. I still look forward to tomorrow morning and just being like, yeah, like tomorrow my daughter is going to they made it to the finals of the running room games at the Butterdome. So her team's running and I get to take her. And it's like, and I don't have to rush off to work or have my wife be there so she can,
Yeah.
like with owning your own business, you had the flexibility to get there, but then you'd have to rush off to work. And, but yeah, it's awesome. It's really, really, really neat. And you can like, oh, you know what? I'm going to do that on the weekend.
Right.
You can set up plans.
Have
for
you
the
mastered
weekend.
the art of saying you'll do it on the weekend and then the weekend comes and saying you'll do it next weekend?
Oh God, no. I do it. I got to do it. I like it because
I love kicking something down the road to the
No.
next weekend.
Oh,
No.
no. Get it done.
Oh, I'm the only person who does that? Oh my God.
no, you're not. I mean,
Okay.
obviously there's areas where that, complacency sets in, but
So
generally like
luxurious.
things we need to do are we need to put hay out and put a new bale of hay out for our horses. And that just can't wait.
No.
That's
They need to live. They
they
need,
need to live.
they need
Yeah.
sustenance.
Yeah.
Very quiet on the trade front.
It's
by
still
the way.
quiet.
Very
And like
quiet.
I'm buzzing my phone as everybody listening wondering. It's just there's not much happening.
No.
As we alluded to, the last move, the biggest move, I guess, thus far has been that the Sens acquired Dylan Cousins, Dennis Gilbert in 2026 second round pick from the Sabres in exchange for Josh Norris and Jacob Bernard Docker.
Boom. Yeah, it is quiet on the trade front. We'll keep you updated as we progress here. It is the EST Hangout. Tom Gazzola, Jolene Latimer from theScore, and our glue guy, Jay Milne, of course, portions of this hour. And the Hangout.
You're good at this, Tom.
I'm figuring this thing out.
Like one thing I will say, Elliot Friedman just reported Mikko Rantanen and the Dallas Stars are closing in on an extension. 8 years, 12 million AAV.
12? I thought it'd be more.
That's 8 years is term, man.
Yeah.
Right?
But weren't we talking about like dry cycle
Well, that's what the general consensus was that Rantanen would be
In the
pursuing that 14, 13.5 value. But maybe with the term, he's happy
in
at
Dallas.
12 in Dallas.
Damn. Okay, there's news.
You say what you want to say.
I'll read the liner. EST Hangout, of course, presented by Sentinel Storage, Canada's storage experts. More than 2 decades of helping Canadians through life's transitions. Canadian storage provider Sentinel.ca. Last half hour of the show, we do have extended coverage of Deadline Day with the Oil Stream Special Edition. No lock shop today. No betting, no fantasy. Right into the Oil Stream. Me, Dusty, and other guests are going to be stopping by. It's going to be fun.
I'm going to be
Hopefully-
working the room, Tom. I'm going to be
you are.
like just back and forth from my laptop to probably the arcade machine, really working it.
That is
The arcade machine.
I haven't tried that yet.
You need to try it. There's
Yeah.
6,500
Okay.
games
This is a
on
great
there.
question.
Spend some time
There's
together.
every game from your childhood, from your like any game in your video gaming life. Outside of Duck Hunt, actually.
Duck Hunt.
Duck Hunt would not be on there. There's no external ability to shoot a gun, but
Super Mario World.
it's on there.
Oh,
Tommy,
I love that.
you were into Super Mario 3, weren't you? Or is that
Mm,
Maddie?
That's Maddie.
Maddie.
I don't
And
mind it.
You're
It's
a big Mario Kart.
I love Mario Kart.
For which version, though? The NES?
I found a new
SNES?
version. It's a Game Boy Advance version that I didn't
Okay.
know existed. It's very similar to the original from Super Nintendo. I've been playing that one a lot.
I haven't played Super Mario World since my Super Nintendo got stolen from my parents' basement.
Unbelievable.
And I would love to play it again.
You know, you can like play ROMs on your computer.
It's not the same thing.
No, it's not.
I need that controller.
What's a ROM?
A ROM is like basically it's simulator, I suppose. Like
I
can
think you
play
guys told me about this last time I was here. Yeah.
any game, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Genesis, whatever. You can essentially play on your computer.
It's not as much.
Yeah,
The
those games.
Coob's a big laptop gamer.
No surprise.
Like buttons and such. You know, like where the keyboard lights up different for different.
That's
you know,
really, yeah, that's
Well,
intense.
he's got that
Yeah, I'm-
penchant.
couldn't. Like I don't mean to say like I just could care less.
You could or you couldn't care less.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Big difference.
I could not care less.
Right.
I like the kind of like vintage games. that I
Reed just
play.
got here, so I was hoping he could catch that.
Well, I think he just threw something because he's so angry. You said
That's
could
a big one for
care
him.
less.
I like
Vintage
the vintage.
games?
I like them like, you know, something to do on a Friday night when you're just hanging out. You know, make some nachos,
Mm-hmm.
play a vintage game.
Mm-hmm. What would be your vintage game if you're gonna hunker down?
Okay, well, there's Super Mario World if that didn't get stolen.
Right.
Then I still have the N64, so I like 007.
GoldenEye
Yeah,
classic.
and then I have Diddy Kong Racing, which I really like.
Diddy Kong Racing was very good.
Good at that one.
Yeah.
yeah. And then what else?
GoldenEye would have to be like the 4-screen. You know, where
Multiplayer.
like you got
that's
you and your
classic.
pals are sitting
Oh,
in,
yeah.
you're settling in.
Yeah.
Super Spike V-Ball was a big game for me and my buddies growing up. On
Is that on Nintendo?
Yeah.
I think I remember.
You could do the whole world or the North American circuit,
Yeah.
and it got intense. I found it on here, but I just don't know because there's buttons you would press that would like pow,
Yeah.
you know, kapow, the big super spike.
But the game is on there.
It is.
You could
Every
figure it.
game's there.
Yeah.
Reed and I actually found a Bible game
This is
Oh.
crazy.
called
by the way.
Exodus.
All right, take us to
Yes.
church.
And I grew up in the church, so between Reed's playing ability and my Bible trivia,
knowledge? Wow.
I was able. We were able to really do some damage
Okay,
on
so
old
if
Exodus.
you know a lot of Bible trivia, tell me if you've played this game. You hold your Bible by the
Sword drill.
spine. Yes.
Yeah,
That's what it's called. I forgot.
it's called a sword drill.
Wow.
What's
and
that?
are you very
Okay,
good at
So
the
here's
sword-
how a sword drill works.
All right. This is
This
for
is
those
someone
that
who's
are
this is someone who has been to church.
those that are listening.
I
Jay
can
has
do it,
grabbed
yeah.
the Edmonton yellow pages.
Take me to church. Okay,
Okay.
All right.
so if this was a Bible,
Okay.
this would be called a sword drill. The
Poly
Bible is
Bibli.
your sword.
Okay.
Okay, the Bible is your harpoon to take down the devil. All right, that's
Gotcha.
essentially it. There's a lot of information in the Bible.
Yeah. Powerful numbers in that one.
Though this is just obviously not
I
a
know.
Bible. Okay, Tom.
I know. Yes. Yes.
So the whoever's leading this would say Bible's swords up, Bible's up. So you'd hold the Bible up like this. And then they'd say Leviticus 9 verse 13. Go. And you'd have to find
Find it
Leviticus and then you'd put your hand up and whoever could find the verse first would
That's the holiest
that's
person.
the whole well, yes,
Oh,
you are
yeah.
the holiest person there.
Yeah.
This is a real game.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is a real game.
This game sucks.
With prizes.
So
and
here's the
everything.
thing, though. Here's the real secret: is that Bibles usually had that
You divided
string
your Old
on
and
them.
New Testament.
yeah.
You would definitely. That's the first thing you'd do is
Classic.
divide Old
Strategy.
Testament, New Testament. Now
Sword
there were
drills.
advanced Bibles that had in the pages
Notches.
that would say Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus,
Low
Numbers,
key
Deuteronomy.
cheating a little bit.
Yes, and so those were like there used to be like Wee College was what it was called.
Right.
So it like little kids going to church, they wouldn't sit through the whole service like their parents. They'd go to Sunday school.
I had to sit through it in the Italian church.
That's because
okay?
you went to the Catholic church.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Catholics
But this
they
is
sit
this
through
is
it.
some
God.
evangelical.
This
stuff.
is Pentecostal,
Yeah.
baby.
Oh, okay.
We're changing light
Yeah,
bulbs.
yeah.
We're
Yeah.
dancing. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's a
Oh, there's
it's a
is this
vibe.
the acoustic guitar place?
Oh man,
No,
there's
no, no,
bands.
plugged in,
There's
plugged in.
like my nephew.
Plugged in.
My nephew
Drums.
is the drummer at his
Yeah.
church band, and he's like it's a,
What?
it's
Oh,
a
yeah.
thing.
You Catholics
Oh, yeah.
wouldn't even know.
Yeah,
No.
man. It's
Yeah.
rocking.
You think Father Giuseppe is gonna buy this stuff? You got to sit and listen to some Latin, some Italian.
Tom,
No,
it's a
no.
party in there.
We got sword drills.
It's a party. We got
What?
we got
there's
sword
lots
drills.
of good stuff
Sometimes
happening.
you even have fellowship.
Oh yeah,
After-
after the
hell's that?
service. After the
Fellowships
service.
where you get together and you have a little potluck with
Yeah.
all your friends and,
You sit down,
congregation
stand up,
members.
kneel down, stand up.
None of that,
No,
none of
there's
that,
no
none of
sit
that.
down.
The Italian guy.
You stand up and you praise the Lord.
Right.
That's what you do. You praise the Lord
I
a
had
lot.
to I could barely keep my eyes open.
No,
It's not
and
that
then
way. No. Yeah.
they hand around a plate for offering.
You guys have. Well, I also went to the Catholic Church.
Okay.
There's offering at the Catholic Church, isn't there?
What does that mean?
That's the.
You give money to the church.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
Sometimes too.
Each, Joe, we need to go for a second round.
Yeah, we're gonna have this. We're gonna the starving children in Africa,
Well,
or we're sending a mission.
In
It's
our
like-
church, they would have obviously the pews, and then you'd have little envelopes, and they were called your tithe envelopes. So a tithe,
those would always be in the back of the.
tithe is
Those are consistent
is-
across all denominations.
Yeah, a avid
How about a little
tither
something?
is somebody that gives 10% of their income to the church.
Damn.
So that would be the agreement, and you'd write your tithe, your number,
Yeah.
and your tithe amount, and you'd put it in the envelope and put it in the, the fancy plate, offering
Okay.
plates.
Yeah.
You were silver, and then they'd have felt lined, red
Usually,
felt
yeah.
lined,
Exquisite.
really glamorous.
I feel like the
Well,
And
when
then
they're taking
communion
that much
days.
money,
Catholic
they,
Church has. I know the Catholic Church has a pole and a basket that goes
yeah,
down.
my Nono used to be hey, Nono's doing the thing. And my dad would give me
Yeah.
like $5. Put it in
Right.
there. Nono's
Yeah.
doing the thing.
Yeah, my mom.
I'd be better at Old Testament.
Oh, really? Because I noticed you had like Genesis. You had the whole thing already.
Yeah,
you could rattle
Old
them off.
Testament would be where
Yeah.
I would be dialed in.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know.
Impressive.
Because you get into the New Testament, it was bigger, and there was a lot more red in the writing,
Right.
right? So that
There's
was
no red
spoken
in
by
the Old.
Jesus.
Yeah. Right.
There was none in the Old
No.
Testament, so the red would throw you off a lot.
So
Yeah.
you have to like get through the.
Yeah, I would like red, black. Some people see different colors
Yeah.
better, so I was a big.
I never had a red letter Bible.
Oh no.
No, those are fancy.
Okay, I'm gonna
Okay, did you
break
get this one?
up
Yeah.
really quickly because it was like this. My mind is blown. Not even acoustic. They're plugged in at church. I didn't get that in at the Italian church. Updates on the trade front. Luke Shen, who was just traded to Pittsburgh, on his way to the Winnipeg Jets, so they get a depth defenseman on the right side, and then some details about the Ranin deal with Dallas. It's close to being finished. Drager says an extensive back and forth about to end with the Dallas Stars acquiring and extending Mikko Rantanen. Not done, but it is believed he's settling for the $12 million per season as discussed. And then our boy Jim Matheson, the Hall of Famer, reminds everybody that there's more take-home pay in Dallas because of no state individual income tax. That's a great point. Alex Hemsky, former Oiler, lives in Dallas and loves it there. Second rounder is the price. And
fourth round.
Second rounder and fourth round pick to Pittsburgh for Luke Shen. So his stay as a Penguin is a short one. What else? That's about it. So we got a little bit of an update. And then what's this game that we're talking about, the Bible game here?
Well, I was going to ask you a question about the trade deadline. That this is something I don't really know enough information about.
Okay, I still really want to talk about this. Do
you want me to go back to it?
No. We'll get
Like
to it.
Exodus or the sword drill?
Whatever. This is crazy. Deadline question. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
To what extent are the changes in the salary cap influencing the movement at the trade deadline this year?
Like the GMs might feel a little bit liberated and know that they have more runway to work with, so they use that as part of their arsenal.
Okay.
Because the cap keeps going up. It's going to go up, like $5 million next year. We're going to be at $100 million in 2 seasons, 100 plus. It might even go as high as what were we talking about? 113, if I remember correctly, off the top of my head. There's still some room for flexibility. It could fluctuate up or down, but next year is locked in. I think it's around 97, if I'm remembering correctly. So I think the GMs are using that knowledge, and they can, contract-wise and money-wise, they can incorporate that into their game plan.
Okay.
That is my understanding of it.
So do you think that like some, I guess, is the market for some positions like artificially deflated because of the incoming increase?
My guess would be no.
Okay.
I think a lot of these GMs get caught up in the moment. They have pressure from their owners that it might
They have
push
to
them
make a
into
deal.
a rash
Okay.
decision.
Okay.
The good GMs are usually able to hold off, the outside noise and use their staff and work with them to make sure that they're of sound mind, if you will.
Because it's an interesting dynamic because they know that these increases are coming. So kind of it's not a normal trade deadline in that way, and it won't be for the next couple of years because they're always factoring that in.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I was curious to what extent it actually impacts.
I think a little bit. You can't deny it. Now that they have a better understanding of where the money's going to be, how much they'll be able to spend down the road, kind of allows them to game plan a bit better and not being as restricted as they have been in the last 5 years. Again, that's my take on it. But of course, there always are outside factors. There's some owners that are heavily involved, and there's some owners that are hands off. We hear it at free agency day on July 1st. These guys sign players to these ridiculous contracts, and then they regret it a year or two down the road. And it's like, why the hell did they do that? Well, they got the green light from the owner. The owner wants results, and then so they have to do something because they feel the heat. So that's kind of my.
What do you think the
interpretation.
money was in Colorado for Ranin?
I heard, wasn't it rumored to be around 11 million per?
Do you know what term?
8, because
8.
they were the team that can give him 8 years
So he's getting $1 extra million per year and no state tax.
state tax.
Fascinating.
Going to a great team too. Not that he wasn't on a great team, and like to me, this whole Ranin situation, I still look at Carolina and I go, "What were you thinking?"
Yeah.
Now we need to see what the return is for Ranin on this sign and trade. But like, what were you thinking? Like you took a big swing. You tried to get a play. He didn't. I mean, it was a tough scenario. He got wedged into the Canes lineup at a time where they were going to the Four Nations. He barely spent any time in Raleigh. It just
Well, and for those that maybe just joining in or haven't heard, Darren Drager reported most recently that an extensive back and forth about to end with the Dallas Stars, acquiring and extending Mikko Rantanen. Not done, but I believe he's settling for the 12 mil per year as discussed, 8 years.
Dallas is a great place to go play. Seriously, like good ownership, great building. I think they have a new practice. Or no, have had practice facilities for a while. The state tax thing, that's nice when the government's not in your pocket taking your money
Right.
as much.
I know that when agents discuss this with their clients, that is, I know that. I mean, it's like making any decision. They include all these factors.
Yeah.
And obviously that's one of them. And I think it's just interesting the trade-offs people make. But yeah, Dallas, it's not a lot of trade-offs. It's a competitive team.
Yep.
And
great GM in Jim Nill.
Yeah.
Good person, good human being, smart GM, good culture.
Yeah.
Team
No
wins.
tax.
Yeah.
Nice place to live.
Yes.
I think. I've actually never been to Dallas.
Dallas is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I love Dallas.
Yeah.
Love it. Now it's superficial, car snobs, all that stuff.
I mean, isn't every place superficial mostly?
It's very Alberta,
Right.
but like
More Calgary. Maybe.
Probably.
it's
Listen,
no,
you can find
Calgary,
superficial people everywhere you go.
It's very Alberta. Like anybody from Edmonton would go there and be like, I can definitely find my flow space here very quickly.
Right. Dallas also seems to me very southern. Like it seems, I know that Greek life there is big. It seems like Southern Belle type thing.
Oh yeah, I love that. They're very fancy girls.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're bougie.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of
But
that.
when they put their cowboy boots on, look out. They're there to party. And they're
It's great.
jean shorts.
Not a lot to complain about.
No, it's a great place. Seriously. So I don't blame Ranin for okay, he loses the ability to pick and choose from, 8 to 10 teams that might be able to take a run at him, if that. But the destination in Dallas is a pretty good one, I would say. Now,
Do you think he could have got higher in free agency?
yeah, I do actually.
I do too.
That part of it surprises me.
Yeah, I do too.
I think he could have swung for 14 mil.
But you're, yeah, and he was on an immediate contender with the Avalanche.
Right.
Now,
Now he's on a contender.
you're on an immediate
Back in
contender
the
as well.
division. He
Yep.
could haunt Colorado Avalanche.
Oh gosh, yeah. Do you think he's in the lineup tomorrow night?
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. Get him in there. Send him here. Get him in the lineup. Send the PJ. We want Ranin playing against the Oilers on Saturday. I like it.
We didn't talk much about the game last night, did we?
Do we want to talk about it some more?
I mean, I thought that overtime was just fantastic.
Right.
That was phenomenal.
It was. You keep taking the words out of my
Really?
mouth. I was about to say phenomenal.
What was
a
the other one?
phenomenal- Streaky.
Streaky.
Yeah.
Right. And Bo, what?
He went
Jodes
and ruined it for
screwed
us.
that up.
I'll never use that
Or
word
Bones.
again.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Jodes.
Bones went
Didn't mean to
into
get
the
you in
net.
He
the
had to do
shrapnel.
that.
Yeah.
He had to. Yeah, that was such a great overtime.
Yeah.
Good, much needed win.
Was it a relief? What was the vibe like in the seats? Because you were sitting in seats yesterday.
I was, yeah. There were a lot of Canadians fans.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, as expected.
I enjoy it.
Do you?
I thought it was great. Like the Let's Go Oilers and then Go Habs Go, like the back and forth.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
awesome.
Okay, I agree. It completely adds to the energy. But like, if you're an Oilers fan, or the Oilers because they get Hunter out there with the drum to get that chant going, wouldn't you want to do everything in your power to eliminate the Go Habs Go in that space in between the Let's Go Oilers chants? Wouldn't you want to come up with something clever?
Right.
Darren Drager just tweeted Brandon Tanev to the Jets for a second in 2027.
Back to Winnipeg for Tanev. Winnipeg's
For a second in 2027.
It's an arms race in the Central Division. Second rounder. And Tanev, by the way, in Seattle, fourth line guy predominantly. So maybe not the Tanev of yesteryear.
Back to the fans.
The fan thing.
Okay,
yeah.
so this reminds me of last time I was here. I think we were talking about the wall
in
yes,
LA.
yes,
The Clippers.
into a dome.
Yes.
And I actually went to see that over New Year's, and it's pretty good. The vibe is amazing. Yeah, it is a good fan experience. Because at first, I think I posed the question like, is it? And I had talked to some people, I can't remember who were really against it in North American sports because it's very like European.
Soccer-esque, right?
Yeah. And they were saying like, oh, shouldn't, we all be together and be like, not supporting each other, but able to sit side by side with people who are not fans of your team. But the wisdom of the wall is that like the energy is so electric.
Mm-hmm.
It's just all your fans, like the student section in college. And I think hockey needs more of that. I think.
Could use it.
Yeah. Oilers fans are great. They're not, but some fan bases are quiet. And I feel like something like the wall would be amazing.
Okay, there is like the wall is unique, obviously, to North American sports with the Clippers. You got to be like a part of the club. You got to be a season ticket holder, secret handshake.
Is there a
You have
secret
to wear
handshake?
a pin a certain way. No, I'm just kidding. But like
I wouldn't be
there
surprised.
are some exclusivities
Yeah.
to sitting along the wall.
Elliot
Go.
Friedman, Toronto and Philadelphia intensifying talks on Scott Lawton.
Okay. Scott Lawton was somebody that the Oilers were looking at last season.
Elliot Friedman said it's happening. Lawton
To Toronto.
To Toronto.
Okay, so that's our first. That's the most I've heard about the Maple Leafs today.
Yeah, they haven't even been on the
quiet.
radar. Yeah.
Generally been a quiet trade deadline thus far. It's about to heat up.
But 2
We have a
hours
couple
and 10
to go.
minutes left, right?
That's right. Lieutenant Eric's putting that in seconds
Yes.
on Twitter.
2 hours and 10 minutes. Okay, so that is 130 minutes, right? Times 60.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's
What is this math class?
Yeah,
60.
where are we going with this?
well, just trying to figure out
Too
the
much
seconds.
adding for me.
It is a lot, yeah. Tom, you've got so this is what's happening, right?
Tell
This
me
is
what's
an
happening.
extended oil stream today.
Yeah, we're gonna go right into the oil stream. I know Gager's here. I can hear him. Reed's gonna be by shortly.
You could hear Gage, hey?
Oh, he's very loud.
That laugh. You know what? I want to bottle that laugh and just have it with me Or maybe I should record it.
And then play it when you need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to play it when I need it
Have it
because
on
it is
tap.
booming and boisterous.
And he's riding high after being on the broadcast the last
He
couple of
is
games.
so great on those broadcasts.
Yes,
you know,
he
my
is.
daughters just adore him on that.
Aw.
I
They just
adore
love him. Well,
I saw
yeah.
him yesterday at the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, he came and gave me a hug.
The beautiful man.
Isn't that
He's a
nice?
beautiful man.
I know. It was very nice.
He is excellent on those broadcasts. He is excellent on EST afternoons. He's going to be great on the extended edition of the Oil Stream on this trade deadline. We're lucky to have him. We're lucky to have Belsey. We're lucky to have Cass. We're lucky to have you, Jolene,
you.
today from the
Thanks
score.
for
We're
having
lucky
me.
to have Glue Guy. We're lucky. We got a great group here.
Yep.
What was it? I love how him and Bob can chirp each other
Yes.
because
Bob,
there's a relationship there, right?
there's a relationship there. And once you figure out stuff and you get on good ground with him standing, then you're
Bob
fine.
was in a grumpy mood the other night.
Oh, he was. I know.
After
I
that
had to
first
give him a
period.
reassuring, like, shoulder butt. You're going to be
Oh.
okay, Bob.
The first period against Anaheim completely deflated Bob,
Yes.
and you could tell. Poor
Yes.
Bob was very angry on the first period intermission.
Yes, he was.
I steer clear from him unless he's. Oh no, not in general. In general, I like him,
Mm-hmm.
but when you can tell that he's sad,
He doesn't hide the emotions well.
right?
He is deeply, deeply
He feels
attached
it.
to the team.
He feels it. Every little bump in the
Yeah.
road, he feels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, like,
But great. But
Team 1260 Bob, very different than
right
uh,
to sit and have dinner with
broadcast
him,
Bob.
and or to chat with him at practice.
You know what? It's good
100.
to have a beer with him.
Exactly. Actually, I've never done that, but maybe one day I can.
You will. We'll do it. We'll do
Okay.
it post game, and we'll get Mooner out there, maybe even Jack Michaels. This text comes in via the inbox 780-218-9999. It says, Tommy, has it been harder to get info out of the Oilers group this year versus other years with potential trades? Seems it has been more tight-lipped than with the Holland era. Maybe it's just me.
Huh.
It is not just you. A mandate from Jeff Jackson starting last year to his staff was button it up. Now, even though people I've dealt with and continue to deal with have been more reluctant, I'm still able to get information. How much I can use it, to what extent, I'm more leery than before. But there's a mandate from the Oilers to tighten it up. There's also been people that are no longer part of hockey operations who would talk to everybody and were very open and loose-lipped that are gone.
Interesting.
So the focus has gone from, or the mindset is like, do not say anything. But you can still, if you have good relationships with people, you can still get information.
We talk about this a lot in the PHWA from a different side, which is just teams in general not making players available when they have to.
Yeah.
That's the rule.
Yeah.
And you could see it happening across the league. There's a couple teams that are still really good, but most of them are only making, they'll choose after the game who's available and only
They're
make
supposed to
not
ask.
open the locker room.
See,
Like,
that's
drives me crazy.
yeah, it should. I mean,
Well,
that's not
and-
how it should be.
Like, well, what are you doing? Do you want to grow your game or do you not?
Yeah.
The way to grow
exactly.
it, the key to that is access
Right.
to the stars.
Correct.
Yes.
Nobody wants to hear from the coach. They want to
Yes.
see the stars.
And those people should be just in general available. It shouldn't be this putting someone's number on the board and that's the only people who you get thing, which
It
a lot of
wasn't
teams are
always
doing.
that way.
A lot of teams are doing that now. It should be after practice, an open locker room. A lot
That's
of teams,
the best.
a lot of teams are going to the request model,
Hate it.
which is not the way it's supposed. That's just literally not in the rules of the league. Like they have to make the players available.
Yep.
If I was a daily reporter, I would be a little bit more upset about it. Is when I do features, it's not such a big deal, and everyone I need, I've always been able to get. Oilers are great with that. When you ask, they
you rate
make it happen.
features.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're
exactly. If it was daily,
Grinding them day to day like we are.
yeah, if it was daily, it'd be hard. And it's
Yeah.
not the only team that is making it tough to get access.
Good point.
Yeah.
One thing I will note is that, in terms of access, okay, is like with the Elks. That is something I see as really shifting.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way that I saw a lot of those contracts that were signed, they had that huge free agency period, right? But when you look at the breakdown of those contracts, most of them had what was called a marketing portion
Yes.
of that. Okay.
Yep.
Then you go out and see, because, okay, this is a little bit. Chris Morris did this at the Bears, where he started the Bears Selects program. He started kids camps. He did all that. It was a great revenue generator, and it helped build the program. Said, you know, he wanted to engage Ford Kids Camp coming up in the spring. They are now making it a part of their contract to be accessible, to be there for the youth, to do the camps. That's now an obligation, which I thought was unique. I didn't know what the marketing component was, but now I'm starting to see it.
Yeah.
That, okay, these are paid appearances, which is fine. But now you're engaging a younger audience. You're making, I mean, you're making the club. Chris, at the end of his tenure at U of A, was making $750,000 off camps.
Nice.
So do you not think the Elks would like to see some of that?
Hell yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So it's worked. And now he's doing it there and engaging youth. It's a win-win-win.
Okay. Do you have really quickly? We need to wrap.
No,
we have
you
like
wrap it
a
up.
minute.
Do it. Do what you need to do.
No, do you want to add anything?
I was just going to agree.
Oh, okay. Jolene agrees.
Yep.
Okay. Extended edition of the Oil Stream coming up. We have all your deadline coverage. It's been pretty quiet. Things are picking up right now. Perfect timing to go into extended trade deadline edition of the Oil Stream. Jolene Latimer from theScore. What are you working on really quickly?
My Teresa Resch Q&A, which
Excellent.
is coming out next week.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Jay Milne, we're going to see you later and throughout the day. Thank
You got it,
You were
Tom. I'm
great
here
today.
for you.
We're here for you. We're here together as a team.
I was going to wear my Glue Crew hoodie today, but it was stained. And it's white.
Well, fiddlesticks.
Fiddlesticks.
Jolene, thank you for coming in.
Thank you
Thank
for
you for the
having
coffee
me.
from
Thank
the
you,
Colombian.
Jolene.
Absolutely
Yes.
tremendous. Good stuff from Jay Milne. YouTube Trev's ready to close this bad boy out. No mustache. It's so weird. Huge thank you to everybody who texted in and got into the nasty chat. Dexy or whoever it is. Mr. Numbers Boy, get ready because everybody's got their laptops. We're ready to go. We're going to dive in the last couple hours of the deadline. That's going to do it for this edition of the EST Hangout, brought to you by Sentinel Storage. For Jolene Latimer and Jay Milne, I'm Tom Gazzola saying, see you in a few minutes. Ciao now.
Let's go.
There you go, right in front of the camera.
First-time guest, long-time listener, fan of the original draft commissioner.
Welcome to the EST Hangout presented by White Claw Hard Seltzer. The difference is clear. Matt Awanek, Tom Zola with here.